In yesterday's video, we covered everything about the 1.3 update that was released for Star Wars Squadrons. But that wasn't the only news I had for you that day. Jay Ingram, the community manager for EA Star Wars, also mentioned about a version 2.0 that was coming this week. And in that version 2.0, he mentioned that there was going to be a full ranked reset as well as a fix to the rank 0 bug. This is arguably the biggest fix that the game needed. But to put it into a version 2.0 seems quite odd. The reason I say that is because every increment of updates have been version 1.1, version 1.2 and version 1.3, all of which that we've covered on this channel. So why version 2.0? Well, I think there's a topic to discuss here. And one of the topics that we can discuss on this is there going to be more than the rank 0 bug fix and the ranked reset? To me, I do believe so, and it also makes me think that we're going to get some form of balance changes. Now, I really have to stress here, this is all theoretical. I'm not saying that this is actual news, and if it was actual news, we'd be telling you. So in today's video, I want to be talking about what we can expect in the version 2.0 update. But before we do that, my question of the day is, what would you like to see in a version 2.0 update? Now, don't go wild here. I know a lot of people want the Clone Wars era update, but try to rein in your expectations. What would you think could realistically be in this update? I will actually probably make another video about this in the future, about what we can realistically expect in terms of content updates. But as I said, that's for another video. So if you want to see that, be sure to hit that subscribe button and ring that notification bell so you do not miss that video. And before we jump into it, I also made a really big deep dive on the Cyberpunk 2077 delay that was announced earlier this week. I did an enormous amount of research into that, so if you want to check all of that and why the game actually got delayed and the situation it's currently in, go check out that video after this one in the pinned comment or in the top right info card of this video. But with that all said and done, let's get into what we can expect in version 2.0. So as expected, we're likely going to see the rank 0 bug fix and the ranked reset, which I did theorize in a previous video, even though it didn't perform very well on the channel. But one of the biggest things that I can expect is definitely balance changes. So what are those balance changes? Well, for one, it's definitely going to be the TIE Bomber. And what I mean by the TIE Bomber is that a lot of its components are probably going to be changed. In a previous video talking about 5 more tips that can help you instantly improve in Star Wars Squadrons, one of those tips was the variety and changes you get between different classes on different factions. And what I mean by that is the rotary cannon on the Y-Wing is so much weaker than it is on the TIE Bomber. And the reinforced armor on the Y-Wing is not as effective as it is on the TIE Bomber, which means the Rebels' Y-Wing bomber is much more inferior than the Empire's TIE Bomber. Even if you try to compensate with the shields on the Rebel side, it's definitely nowhere near enough. So I think in the version 2.0 update, we're likely going to see a weaker reinforced hull on the TIE Bomber and a weaker rotary cannon. I do not think that they'll overpower the Y-Wing's rotary cannon to match the TIE Bombers. I think it'll be the other way around, where the TIE Bomber's rotary cannon will come down to the same levels as the Y-Wing. The other thing that gets me thinking is probably the beam cannon as well. Although I've not really seen it too much, I have seen it do enormous damage to subsystems and frigates. So personally, I don't know if there's going to be any tweak to it, but I wouldn't be surprised if there is. Other than that, I do think all the other classes are relatively balanced between one another. I still think the Empire does have a bit of an upper hand, mostly because it's a much easier faction to play without having to balance your shields front or back. But as I did mention, that is a skill ceiling that does need to be learned. So there could be changes to that, but I don't really have any opinions on it. I think more experienced players know how to play Rebels more efficiently. And I think it's good that the game doesn't allow you to force what faction you want to be. And thus, if you do get put on Rebels, it forces you to be a better player. Not to say that the Empire is super easy to play, of course. But there is no denying that there is an extra level of expertise required when playing Rebels and shield management. Next up, I think it's frigate and flagship hugging. Now, what I mean by this is starfighters getting up close and personal with frigates and flagships. How many times have you seen a starfighter get really close to your flagship, firing away at it and almost taking no damage in return? Developers of Star Wars Squadrons has voiced that it's not really the intended way of play, so it makes me think that this could be tweaked in a future update, possibly in version 2.0. Now, people have discussed on the Star Wars Squadrons subreddit on ways to combat this. One of the most popular answers is splash damage to your lasers, meaning that you take more damage when you're just up close and personal and trying to fire on the flagship. You too take splash damage from the lasers that you fire onto the flagship if you're too close. Others do suggest that there should be a 100% accuracy hit from the flagship when you're going at a certain slow speed. There's plenty of other options as well, not so many that I agree with. Those two I think could maybe work in some degree. And whilst I don't believe that the entirety of the flagship hugging should be eliminated, I do think players should be rewarded for taking the best route around the flagship to then deal damage where they get attacked the least. And we also covered that in the previous video on 5 more tips to instantly improve, and that being showing you all the weapon hardpoints of laser cannons, missile launchers and tractor beams, and that each flagship has a really perfect route of you going in, doing damage and getting out, as well as circumventing all of that firepower to get to a subsystem with minimal damage. But that's definitely a question that has to go to you guys to discuss, because I don't really feel like I have a really strong point on this one. As for players hugging frigates, I do believe you need to take out all the cannons first to be able to do something like that. However, it's very hard to know just how many cannons have been destroyed on your or enemy frigates. So maybe there might be a change to that, but I very much doubt so. My final 2 suggestions are probably either never going to come or are going to come in a later patch. So I'd actually be surprised if it gets into version 2.0, but we'll see. But the first one is leaving matches. We've seen a lot of people leave matches in ranked, whether it be disconnecting and unable to rejoin, their friend getting kicked and then them getting put into a game anyway, so they have to leave, and the fact that their rank is probably frozen and they don't really care if they win or lose. I think with the ranked fix, this will solve this issue somewhat, but if it still persists, it'll be interesting to see if version 2.0 or maybe version 2.1 will actually have a further solution to this. That being a much stronger lower priority queue and perhaps harsher terms for people that frequently leave games. It'll be also very interesting to see if they'll punish pre-made teams whenever somebody leaves that pre-made team and the game as well, because that could prevent any form of loopholes of if a game turns sour, one of their teammates can leave so the rest of the team doesn't lose any points. This leads to smurfing accounts actually abusing this, and actually a really clever way of climbing up the ranks without actually having any risk to it. Only one account is going to constantly be dumped in rank, and that's a burner account anyway, so it doesn't matter. So it'll be interesting to see if there's any punishments to a group if somebody in that group leaves the game. But again, this is all speculation. I don't know what to expect. Developers have talked about this once before, but whatever actions they're taking on it, we don't know. But it would be interesting to see that in version 2.0. And the final thing is dogfighting ranked. Dogfighting is a game mode that is very popular among Star Wars Squadron players. When fleet battles should have been the main focal point, I think a good chunk of people are actually preferring dogfighting. Now, whilst I haven't played dogfighting yet, all I've done is played fleet battles, it does beg the question, should dogfighting also have a ranked system? It's very evident that these two game modes have split the fan base in some degree. So anybody that's watching right now, I'm really interested to hear if you're equally playing both game modes or if you're absolutely dedicated to one like I am. And is that one dedicated game mode dogfighting for you? If YouTube still kept their voting polls in the information card, this would have been amazing for this right now, but they removed it, which is epic. So you're gonna have to tell me in the comments down below. Actually, I'm gonna put a straw poll in the comment section, see if that works. If you only play one game mode only, vote for it in the straw poll in the pinned comment. Really interested to see that. And if there is no straw poll, it's because it didn't work. But yeah, anyway, to close off this point, pretty much I think dogfighting should have a ranked mode. Anything to keep players just constantly playing, because I got pretty bored of fleet battles after a little while because the ranking system wasn't working. So imagine how the dogfighting players feel. Like they have no ranked coming at all. So they must get pretty bored of the game mode eventually, which I don't want them to. I want them to keep playing it because I want more people to play the game. So interested to see if that'll actually come in version 2.0. Don't know if it will, but we'll have to wait and see. But overall, the jump from version 1.4 to 2.0 is quite significant. So I'm expecting some big changes in this update. I mean, we got version 2.0 before the first season of Ranked is over. So I don't even know what we can expect on season 2 of Ranked in like December the 2nd, I think. But that wraps up all of my thoughts and theories of what we can expect in version 2.0 of Star Wars Squadrons. That is coming next week. So let me know all your thoughts and opinions, and the question of the day, which is what you will expect in version 2.0 of Star Wars Squadrons. And again, be realistic. Don't put your wildest dreams of what you want in this game. Try to make it as realistic as possible. And a quick little reminder that Cyberpunk 2077 video that I mentioned at the beginning of this video, that is in the info card in the top right corner of this video and in the pinned comment down below alongside the straw poll if it works. But other than that, I have been Charlie, you've been watching EcksToo, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.